Not good. Emperor Guisu, Wu Xian God King, and Yuntian God King all changed color. The three of them had explored the dream domain many times and had much more experience than Luo Feng. They knew very well the terrifying aspects of this huge group of dream creatures. The most terrifying thing about the dream domain creatures is that their strength can be perfectly coordinated, as if they were one. The sky and earth began to turn bloody. The operating rules of the dream domain were changing with hundreds of stone monsters as the core. They looked at Luo Feng and his friends with endless hatred. The vast surrounding area generated a tremendous binding and squeezing force, squeezing Luo Feng and the other three. This kind of restraint and compression is not a force. It is a rule. Luo Feng's world power cannot be weakened, and Emperor Guisu and his methods cannot resist it. They can only resist it. The more creatures there are in the dream domain, the greater the impact on the operating rules of the dream domain. Hundreds of dream domain creatures have greatly affected the surrounding rules. We have to find a way to escape. Emperor Guisu transmitted the message. My sky-hiding escape technique is also suppressed by the rules of the dream domain and cannot be hidden. The Wu Xian God King was also anxious. Any escape method, including the alien existence behind the Two Worlds Palace, the 10,000 Laws Building, and the space-time loan boat, cannot be hidden under the alien rules. If it can be hidden, it will be able to steal all kinds of rare treasures recklessly. My poison fog has also been suppressed and cannot spread. Although the poison fog of Yuntian God King is invisible and difficult to detect, the operating rules of the dream domain are suppressing it in all directions at this moment, and also suppressing the poison fog. Accompanied by the roar of the largest stone monster, a large group of stone monsters rushed over at the same time, and the whole world trembled. Emperor Guisu immediately displayed his 8 arms and collided with the stone monster leader. The stone monster leader was extremely large, and his huge arms smashed over. There was no mystery, only endless power. The Emperor Guisu used 8 arms to resist with weapons, which had many mysteries such as unloading force, borrowing force, and counterattacking. But with one collision, Emperor Guisu was knocked flying, and the stone monster leader only took a step back. Don't fight it head-on, Emperor Guisu said. Its strength is equal to mine. In terms of power, the stone monster leader is far superior. However, in terms of realm, Emperor Guisu is high enough to be on equal terms with him. Puff, puff, puff. The Wu Xian God King drew his sword. The moment he drew the sword in his hand split into countless dense sword shadows. Countless sword shadows covered the stone monsters. The invisible field naturally weakened these sword shadows, and the weakened sword shadows still fell on each stone monster. These stone monsters, the large ones, are intact, while the small ones have only some scars on their bodies. One move split into many sword shadows. The power of the sword shadows was not great, but it allowed the Wu Xian God King to understand the details of the entire dream domain creature community. The leader of this group of creatures in the dream domain has reached the peak of the 2nd level of God King, and there are 92 others who can also be considered as the 2nd level God King. There are also more than 200 who can be considered as the 1st level God King, and each of them has an extremely tough body. Wu Xian God King immediately transmitted a message to his companions. In the distance, the team from the Two Worlds Palace is here. The white-haired palace master cast a secret spell, causing the battle between the stone monster tribe and the Samsara building team to appear in the air in front of him. This huge race of creatures in the dream domain has united their power to form a domain of rules. It suppresses all large-scale areas, and it will be difficult for the Samsara building to escape. The members of the Two Worlds Palace watched with joy. There are probably nearly 100 of these dream realm creatures at the 2nd level God King. The white-haired palace master smiled. If they join forces, they can easily defeat the Samsara building. I guess it would be lucky if one of the 4 of them survives. Dream creatures don't care about secret treasures and weapons. We will go and collect the treasures they left behind after their death. Finally, let the reincarnation Shaolu suffer a big loss for once. They watched from a distance. Except for the palace master, the other 6 were also at the 2nd level God King, and were the overlords of the origin continent. In the outside world, they rarely had conflicts. However, in some treasured places, they had great conflicts. For example, if they both discover a very precious treasure, would they be humble and give it up? Of course not. Fight after fight, grudges accumulate. The resource disputes on the origin continent are very complicated. The idol god kings have conflicts and grudges with each other. For example, Sitting Mountain Guest hates the 3 rulers of the Food Kingdom to the core. There is also competition between many idol god kings in the two ancient kingdoms. Some of the idol god kings are on good terms with the two ancient kingdoms, while others also defect to the two ancient kingdoms. Within the two ancient kingdoms, even between emperors and emperors, and between monarchs and monarchs, there would also be conflicts. You killed my disciple and entire clan and took away my cultivation resources? So what if you are also an emperor? If you can lay your hands on me, I can't fight back? Among the ancient beings with long lifespans, only a very small number can always maintain very good relationships with each other. The Samsara building. The white-haired palace master watched this scene from afar. His true body was enough to rival the ancestors of the two kingdoms. Among the resources left by Yuan, only some of the best ones attracted him. This Samsara building has ruined my plans many times. The white-haired palace master has also suffered a lot. The Samsara building has the Empress of Wind City and the Earth God King. The strength of the top leaders is far greater than mine. To many powerful people in the origin continent, the members of the Samsara building are a secret. But for the white-haired palace master, as long as he saw her once, he was sure of the identity of the Empress of Wind City and the Earth God King. But what if they see through the identities? Once the Empress of Wind City and the Earth God King from the Samsara building lead their teams into the Treasure Land, the teams from the Two Worlds Palace, the 10,000 Laws building, and the Space-Time Lone Boat will be no match for them. However, when exploring treasure lands, the number of strong people is also important. The Two Worlds Palace has many members. As the largest force in the darkness, there are many teams searching for treasures. As the Palace Master sent out his avatar to assist, he naturally had to share a large amount of credit. He didn't want most of the treasures for these credits, but exchanged them for the opportunities and treasures he needed. Emperor Guisu said urgently, "We must find the weakness of this group of creatures in the dream domain as soon as possible, and then use the weakness to quickly kill them. If we delay for too long, we will not be able to escape. Except for Brother Wu Xian, I'm afraid none of us can escape." Yun Tian God King was also anxious. In the team, Emperor Guisu and Yun Tian God King do not have clones. Once their real bodies die, even if they practice with the help of a resurrection carrier, they have to start all over again. If they want to nourish the chaotic origin bloodline and restore their peak strength, it will be a huge expense. I'm afraid it would take the effort of exploring the dream domain 10 times to make up for the gains. I'll try to find the flaw. The Wu Xian God King turned into a blurry stream of light in an instant. The blurry light spread out, trying to cover a group of stone monsters. The leader of the stone monsters, which was the largest in size, looked at the large blurry light and roared suddenly. With this roar, the heaven and earth shook and the world was distorted. The power was so great that even Emperor Guisu changed color slightly, and the vague light of the Wu Xian God King condensed into his true body again. Even though the Yun Tian God King cultivated the chaotic origin bloodline and had an extremely strong body, his skin was still cracked by the roar. Luo Feng's world life form also felt quite uncomfortable. This leader is too difficult to deal with. Wu Xian God King was anxious. We're in big trouble this time. Emperor Guisu waved his 8 arms and tried to resist with difficulty. Let me try. Luo Feng suddenly transmitted the message. Emperor Guisu, Wu Xian God King, and Yun Tian God King were all stunned. He wants to try? Faced with this huge group of creatures in the dream domain, it was mainly Emperor Guisu and Wu Xian God King who were thinking of countermeasures, and they did not expect that Yun Tian God King and Luo He God King, who were at the first level of God King, could provide any help. Luo Feng only observed for a few breaths of time and collected a lot of information about the stone monster tribe, and he also had a response plan in mind. Luo Feng, who was standing in place, suddenly turned into a dense mass of black shadows, and black figures rushed in all directions. Luo Feng avoided the strongest four-headed stone monster. According to previous observations, the leader of the stone monsters was comparable to the Emperor of Guisu, and the 3 extremely powerful stone monsters were also comparable to the Tian Kuan. Luo Feng chose to give up completely and let Brother Guisu and Brother Wu Xian resist. As for all the other stone monsters, Luo Feng took them all. More than 200 stone monsters of the first-level God King also encountered more than 200 black-scaled and golden-horned Luo Fengs. Each clone only has about 1/10,000th of the energy reserve of the world life form. Each one only uses stupid tricks, and the burden on the mind and will is also low enough. The world life form with a reserve of 1/10,000th, even if using stupid tricks, has the strength of the ultimate first-level God King, and can completely entangle these stone monsters. The stone monster's movements were clumsy, and so was Luo Feng. The stone monsters were tough and hard to destroy, and so was Luo Feng. He had never thought of destroying these stone monsters. Entanglement was much easier than destroying them. There are also 89 stone monsters at the second-level God King, and each of them encounters a clone with 1/2000th of the energy reserve. This clone is slightly weaker than the one Luo Feng used when he fought against the Tianquan Kingdom Lord. But because he has mastered all 6 branches of the Great Tao of the Origin of Destruction, Luo Feng's fighting skills have been greatly improved. These 89 clones are barely at the God King level in terms of moves, but they have an absolute advantage over the stone monster. And these 89 stone monsters are generally much weaker than the Tianquan Kingdom Lord. 89 clones were entangled with 89 stone monsters at the second-level God King. Luo Feng felt okay, and he could still hold on. Maintain more than 300 clones at the same time. Even though Luo Feng's soul foundation was far deeper than that of all God Kings, and even though his spiritual will had already reached the bottleneck of the God King level, he still felt that he had reached the limit of his mind's endurance. More than 300 stone monsters and more than 300 black-scaled, golden-horned figures were entangled and fighting. The bodies of both sides were tough and indestructible and full of vitality. The stone monster leader and the 3 extremely powerful stone monsters were stunned. Only the 4 of them were not entangled. Even though Emperor Guisu, Wu Xian God King, and Yun Tian God King were knowledgeable and experienced, they were still a little confused. How is that possible? Impossible! The Two Worlds Palace team, observing from a distance, couldn't believe what they were seeing. Each of his clones can resist the creatures from the dream domain. To control so many clones at the same time is like controlling a huge group of creatures from the dream domain by himself. Even if his tricks are stupid, controlling such a huge life puts a burden on the soul and the mind and will. This is definitely not something a normal God King can do, said a thin figure. With over 300 clones, how can each of them be so powerful? How does he control them? Has his spiritual will surpassed the level of a God King? But in the entire Origin continent, there are only a few who can achieve this level. The overlords of the Two Worlds Palace present were unwilling to believe it. They were knowledgeable and experienced, so they understood how difficult it was to achieve this. The white-haired palace master was also secretly shocked when he saw this scene. I can't even identify the identity of this black-scaled golden horn man. It is obvious that his aura is hidden to an incredible degree. How does he control so many clones? The soul path? Or other reasons? The white-haired palace master remembered the appearance of the black-scaled golden-horned man clearly. Another mysterious and powerful man. Emperor Guisu, Wu Xian God King, and Yun Tian God King were all stunned by Luo Feng. Brother Guisu, Brother Wu Xian, why don't you take action? More than 300 black-scaled golden-horned Luo Feng urged at the same time. I have already held them back. Quickly defeat them one by one. Luo Feng felt tired after dealing with so many dream domain creatures at the same time. Okay. Emperor Guisu and Wu Xian God King responded, feeling that their perceptions were overturned. A first-level God King could actually achieve this? Not long ago, didn't Brother Luo he control 10 clones when he was fighting against the Tianquan Kingdom Lord?